me again, Ray from the Radio Workshop, with the third and final part of this business with Mary. Mary very contrary. Got my coffee. If you remember the end of part 2, I thought it was all over. We'd had Mary's mother, have a go at her, and I went home, had a go at Mary, that was. Mary had gone as far as I was concerned. I went home and my front door was jammed shut. Do you remember that? I knew Mary was in my bungalow. That night there was banging around. I was awoken in the early hours by banging around in the bungalow. I knew it was Mary. I ignored it totally. I did my best to go back to sleep. This went on for 2 or 3 nights, banging around at night, waking me up. And I just thought, like a child, when a child says, "Oh yeah, but I want a sweet." "No, you can't." "Yeah, but," and they go on and on and on. I thought, if I ignore her, if I just totally ignore Mary, she'll give up and go away. She didn't go away. This went on and on until one evening, one night rather, I was woken by this banging around, and I sat up in bed. I could hear running water, and I leapt out of bed. What on earth's going on? I hear it coming from the bathroom. Went in there, put the light on. The basin, the plug was in. There was a flannel stuffed in the overflow hole. Both taps are on full. It was overflowing. The bathroom floor was flooded. It was floorboards that I'd spent hours, when I first moved in, stripping and rubbing down and all that. The floorboards were absolutely soaked. Water flooding. I turned the tap off, both taps. I emptied the basin, got towels. I'm trying to mop everything up. And although I'd never been afraid of Mary, and I wasn't afraid of her then, I did begin to feel afraid of what she was capable of, what she might do. While I was clearing up the water, I imagined her coming up to me while I'm sleeping in bed, and bashing me over the head with something. If she was physically capable of, filling the basin, blocking up the overflow hole, what else was she capable of doing physically? So that's when I was also very angry. I was shouting, "Where are you? Come here, I want to speak to you, Mary." And I was really angry. Obviously, my bathroom had been ruined. Silence from her, of course. Anyway, about an hour later, I went back to bed and nothing else happened. In fact, nothing happened for a couple of days. And I hoped that was it. She'd gone too far and I'd frightened her off, or she realised she'd gone too far and done a runner or whatever. That's what I had thought anyway. I realised that she hadn't gone anywhere a couple of days later when I was in the lounge watching television one evening, and I heard the smashing glass really loud, crash and splintering glass. I thought, what on earth? I ran out to the kitchen, and there was like quarry tiles on the floor, like stone tiles. I'd had this big jug, this sort of pitcher thing on the side. It was shattered all over the floor. It hadn't just fallen off because it was kept at the back near the windowsill by the sink. Even if it had fallen over, which it couldn't, it wouldn't have gone on the floor. So I said, "Okay, Mary, come on, let's sort this out. What do you want? We need to talk." Then I heard banging around in another room. I went out, I couldn't find her. Then as she's back in the kitchen, I heard something else break. I went out there and it was a mug on the floor. So I thought then, that's it, I've got to stop this. I'll go and see her mother. I thought that, I didn't know what for, but I thought, well, her mother had a go at her last time and got rid of her from Jane's house. So perhaps if I get her mother to my bungalow, I could, I don't know what I thought. So I went round to see the mother, and she was very nice. As I'd met her before, as you know from previous videos. She said, "Oh, well, come in. Are there problems?" I said, "Yes." I said, "You know what it's all about?" She said, "Yeah, I'm sorry about this." So I said, "Look, I don't know where her husband was. As I said, he was a bit weird, a bit demented. In fact, I'm glad he wasn't there. I assumed he was out. We sat down and I said, look, what is it? What is it that Mary wants? Obviously she wants something. Do you know what it is? When did she become kind of a little bit weird in the head, disturbed? At what age? What happened around that time? I was trying to kind of put together the pieces of a puzzle to find out what Mary wanted. Mary's mother was cagey, to say the least. Whatever I asked her, if she was, I don't know, and she just didn't want to talk about it. She knew a lot more than she was letting on, I know that. She said, she became disturbed when she was young, don't know what it was, really, nothing really set it off. And I said, well, look, can you come to my bungalow and deal with her? And she was a bit just, I don't know, I don't know that I should, and I don't think I can help. So I must admit, I got a bit cross with her. I said, look, I'm putting you as responsible for this. It's your daughter. You've got to do something, or at least help me to do something, because this isn't fair. And I said, obviously something happened to sort of tip Mary over the edge when she was younger. What was it? And she said, she never liked her father. So I said, okay, well, all right, fair enough, that's a start. Why not? Then she said, well, her stepfather. So I think, hang on. So this man you're married to now, the one that was a demented one, I said, that's her stepfather. Yes, Mary's father left when she was 12. And I said, right, okay. And that's when Mary went a bit funny, is it? Well, I said, well, was it? Well, I don't think so. And in the end, she said, well, yes, it was, yeah, because he left. So she wouldn't say why they'd split up or how she'd met this other chap, the stepfather and all that. But that, at least, the timeline sort of fitted. Mary went a bit funny in the head when her dad left, the marriage broke up, and this stepfather bloke came along. So that was a start. I thought, I'm perhaps getting somewhere now. So my thought was that this stepfather bloke had been doing something to Mary. And that's why she went a bit funny at that age. And I said to Mary's mother, I said, obviously there were things going on. Why didn't you put a stop to it? And she said, well, I couldn't. I said, well, you must have been able to do something. I said, surely you could do something. Put a stop to it. And she said, well, how could I? I said, well, throw him out or something. That would be a start. Throw him out. And she said, throw him out? Why? I said, well, because of what he was doing to Mary. And she said he hadn't done anything to Mary. Then I realised I kind of got the wrong end of the stick. And I said, well, so why didn't she like him? She said, it wasn't there. She sort of realised what I was on about. And she said, no, it was nothing like that at all. So I thought, well, that's a relief. And I said, so what was it? Why did she hate this stepfather? To the point where, she went funny in the head at that age, at 12 years old. Why? And, okay, the marriage had broken up and perhaps she didn't like the stepfather chap, but, to send her mental like that is a bit odd. Well, perhaps she wasn't mental. Well, she was mental, I don't know. Anyway, her mother wasn't going to say anything to me. And in the end, I said, look, come to my bungalow, okay? Just come there and tell Mary to go. I said, then I'll leave you alone. I said, just do that for me. And she agreed. Unfortunately, Mary wasn't around when I took her mother there. She obviously realised what was going on and did a runner. So, I sat down with her mother. We had a cup of tea and had a nice chat. And she said, well, I can't tell Mary to go if she's not here. I thought, well, this is typical. Mary's not going to turn up. So I tried to get a bit more information out of her. And it turned out she was very cagey all the time, but it turned out that Mary didn't like her stepfather because basically all it was he'd moved in, her dad had gone, and she never saw her dad again. She had no contact with him or anything like that. This is what the mother told me. Unable to contact him, he just disappeared. Once her mother had said that he'd just disappeared, awful lot of banging started around the bungalow in every room. One of the mugs flew off the side of the kitchen and smashed on the floor. We were in the lounge at the time. I could hear this mug smashing. Now I had some books on the mantelpiece. They fell off onto the floor, and I just said, Mary, Mary, calm down. We're talking. Let's talk. And it stopped. Her mother looked horrified, and I said, what was that just set her off like that? And the mother said, oh, I don't know. It's obviously she was lying. And I said, it was when you started saying that Mary's biological dad, her real dad, disappeared, and there was no contact. He just disappeared. That's when Mary went mad. Anyway, the bungalow was quiet, and the mother obviously thought that she'd better tell me the truth. She said Mary thought her father had died. So I said, you died? What do you mean? You told her that? She said, yeah, I didn't want her to have contact with him, so I said that he died. That's not a ghostly noise, it's a fan, come on, a cooling fan. So I said, this is obviously what kicked off her problem. You said her dad died. And I don't know what had happened. I don't know why the marriage split up, but she wouldn't go into that. But it transpired that Mary had got it in her mind that this stepfather had killed her real father. I don't quite know how that had come about. The woman was very cagey about the whole thing, as I've said. So that's why she hated him. No one would do anything about it. Apparently Mary had told people that, my stepdad killed my dad, and no one took any notice of her. And what I had decided was going on, Mary thought her dad was dead. She was looking for him in, whatever you want to call it, the spirit world, where she was. She was looking for her dad over on sort of her side, beyond the grave or wherever. And she couldn't find him. Of course she couldn't find him because he wasn't dead. That was the point. Mary's mother had caused all this. She should have told the truth, whatever the truth was that the marriage split up in the first place, why she didn't want Mary to contact her real dad. She should have said something to Mary. So Mary kind of grew up all through her teens and that, thinking her stepdad had murdered her real father. The whole thing was an absolute nightmare. As we sort of finished talking, I wasn't going to get any more out of the mother, so Mary started bashing around in the bungalow. The mother said, look, I'm leaving. She did say, she shouted out, Mary, go away, leave Ray alone. Mary just bashed around more. The mother left. I said, I'll give you a lift, and she just left. She walked out. Which I didn't think was very good. I suppose she didn't know what to do. She felt guilty. Mary's smashing up my bungalow. It was worse than a nightmare. I didn't know what to do. Eventually I shouted at Mary. I said, I will find out what's going on. I will find out where your father is, but just calm down. Which fortunately she did. I didn't know how I was going to find the father. Obviously the mother didn't want to. She didn't or couldn't help. I don't know. Didn't want to, I think. So I spent the rest of the day just clearing up the bungalow, basically, all the mess, smashed crockery. I mean, looking back, I can laugh, but at the time it was just utter disaster. What happened was that evening, Mary had been quiet. She calmed down. That evening, ring on the door. The door opened, so Mary was behaving herself, and this chap. So I said, can I help you? And he said, I'm Mary's father. I didn't recognise him, and I said, no, you're not. I was thinking of the stepfather. I wish I'd opened the door to him. And he said, I'm her biological father. I said, right, come in. He was about the same age as the stepfather, and he seemed nice enough chap. And we went through to the lounge. Mary was quiet, and sat down. And I said, what do you know? And he said, my ex-wife's told me everything. He said, I'm sort of up to date with everything. So I said, well, what happened? Why did Mary thinks you've been murdered? And I never did. There are a lot of pieces of this puzzle missing. I never did find out. I never will. I still don't know why they didn't split up. It's like the old lady in the garden next door. I never did find out who she was, whether she was of this world or of that world or whatever. He was a little bit cagey as to why they'd split. Well, a little bit. He wouldn't tell me why they'd split up. He had tried to contact Mary. They'd moved from the bungalow. Okay, he didn't know where they'd moved to. He did try to contact. I think he said that he'd found the address, and the mother didn't want to know. We were talking, and he said, I need to talk to Mary, and I said, well, she's not here. It was a weird situation. I'd kind of been dragged into all this. It started off, as you know, with Mary going to Jane's house. The reason she went there, she was trying to contact her father. That was her home. She thought he might be there. This is what I'm kind of thinking must have happened. All the things that had developed started building the picture of what had happened. I don't know why Mary thought her stepfather had murdered her real father. He didn't seem to know anything about that. In fact, he thought Mary didn't want to know him. Divorces and stuff, all this stuff goes on between husband and wife, or ex-husband and wife, or stuff goes on and the kids are always in the middle. So that was that. And I said, well, look, Mary's not here. And then suddenly the lounge door, it flung open and bashed against the wall. We both looked up like that, and there's Mary. She's standing in the doorway. She looked at me, and I thought, oh, what's she going to do? Because she was like wild. She looked at her father, huge grin on her face, and she rushed. He was sitting on the sofa, rushed over there, sat next to him, flung her arms round him. Daddy, she said, Daddy. And I was stunned. It was amazing, He could see her, she could see him. She's a ghost. I didn't know what to do. They started to talk. She was crying. I left the room and closed the door. I sort of wish I hadn't. I wanted to hear what they were saying, but I don't know. I just left the room. It was, I don't know how long later it was, how much later. He came out of the lounge. He was calling me. And he was saying, oh, thank you so much, thank you. I said, well, I haven't done anything, And he said, she's all right now, we've got cleared everything up. And, she can now move on. And I thought, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. It's all over. A nice ending to this whole, what had been basically a nightmare. Anyway, he left. That was that. I didn't get any contact details. I didn't want to be in contact with him, or Mary's mother, or Mary for that matter. I wanted to get on with my life and what I was doing. Jane and Dave were okay. They were now being left alone. I just wanted to be left alone as well. So he left, and that was that. Goodbye to him. I went back into the lounge. No sign of Mary. I was hoping that she'd be there. I wanted to say goodbye to her. She wasn't around, so that was. I thought she's moved on, whatever they do. I don't know, moved on or wherever they go. And that was that. That night, I was woken by. I thought I heard something banging about. I sort of sat up, bolt right in bed, thinking, "Oh no, here we go now. What's happening?" I got up. I'm looking around. I went into the lounge, and on a coffee table I had in the middle. On the coffee table was a wooden box about this sort of big, nice, like walnut, like an antique, really nice wooden box. So I opened the lid, and in there's bits and pieces. There's like a necklace and a bracelet, a couple of rings, bits and pieces, a couple of letters, and this was obviously Mary's stuff from when she was alive, if I could put it that way. And there was a diary In fact, it was more of a very thick notebook than a diary. It wasn't daily entries. I did this, I went there, I went here. It was lots of entries in there. Each entry was dated, and there was some amazing stuff as she from when she was like 12, when she started thinking her dad was dead, through her teens. There was some incredible stuff in there. And I sat up for the rest of that night in the lounge reading through this book, this diary, or these entries. And I was just thinking to myself, not out loud, but I just thought, this would make an incredible book. And then I heard her voice. I didn't see her. She said, "No, don't tell anyone." I never did tell anyone what was in that diary, and I never will. Mary never came back. I never saw her again. I kept her box of things. Initially I thought of giving it to her mother, but then I thought, no, Mary gave that to me. So I kept that. And the diary, that's why there can't be a part 4, because Mary asked me never to tell.